Goblin Reddit. Today's story is...
My sister publicly humiliated me for my pregnancy at her engagement party, but when I defended myself, it sparked a family war that changed everything forever. I never imagined that I would end up causing a scene at my sister's engagement party, but that's exactly what happened. To be honest, I'm still processing everything that happened. Let me share some background about my relationship with my sister, Betty, and how we got into this complicated situation. Maybe this will help me determine if I really am the villain in this story. I am 28 and Betty is 30. We have always had a complicated relationship. It is the kind of relationship where we love each other but inevitably compete for everything. During our childhood, Betty was the model daughter. She always got perfect grades, had the best friends, and a wardrobe that anyone would envy. I, on the other hand, was more laid back and less concerned with meeting other people's expectations. We have had numerous arguments over the years, mainly about unimportant matters, but there has always been that competitive tension between us. A few months ago, I found out that I was pregnant. My husband and I had been trying for a while, and we were excited. However, it was still early, only about 10 weeks, so we decided not to share it with anyone yet. My first trimester was difficult. Between the morning sickness and unexpected weight gain, I wasn't exactly feeling my best. To avoid questions, I started wearing looser clothes and skipping family dinners where I couldn't avoid certain foods without raising suspicion. Around the same time, Betty started dropping hints about her boyfriend Mark. She was convinced he would propose soon. She would send me links to engagement rings and constantly talk about how eager she was to plan their engagement party. It was clear she was very keen to have her moment in the spotlight. I decided it would be best to keep my pregnancy a secret for a little longer. I didn't want to overshadow her excitement, and, honestly, I didn't want her to feel like I was trying to steal the spotlight. Besides, my husband and I weren't ready to share the news yet. Unfortunately, the secret didn't last long. One night, Betty came over unannounced. I was on my laptop, looking at baby clothes when she walked in and saw the screen. She immediately connected the dots and exclaimed, "You're pregnant!" I couldn't deny it, so I confirmed it. At first, she seemed happy for me and even gave me a hug. She asked me if Mom and Dad knew, and I explained that I wasn't ready to share it yet. I asked her to keep it a secret, and she agreed. Fast forward a few weeks to Betty's engagement party. She and Mark had spared no expense, renting a beautiful banquet hall, decorated with sparkling lights, elegant floral arrangements, and a selection of champagne so luxurious it would have been fit for a royal ball. The guest list was extensive, full of family, friends, and some of Mark's colleagues, all dressed to impress. On the surface, it seemed like the perfect night, but as the day approached, my enthusiasm was overshadowed by a growing sense of unease. Several months pregnant, I was experiencing many physical and emotional changes. My energy levels were at rock bottom. My feet had become two swollen balloons, and finding something flattering to wear was a battle I was not prepared for. After much trial and error, I settled on a loose-fitting, supposedly pregnancy-friendly dress that didn't look as elegant as I had hoped. By the time we arrived, the party was in full swing. Betty looked absolutely radiant. For the first hour or so, I did my best to enjoy myself. I caught up with relatives I hadn't seen for a while. I drank sparkling water, and I even managed to squeeze out a few genuine smiles, but then it was time for the toasts. It all began on a positive note. Some close friends of Betty and Mark gave heartfelt speeches that had everyone applauding and wiping away a tear or two. The atmosphere was warm, festive, and full of affection. Then Betty took the microphone. Her speech started off well enough, with expressions of gratitude to all those who had come to celebrate. She shared affectionate words about Mark, her excitement about the future, and even joked about some of the quirks they shared as a couple. It was charming, and the room hung on her every word. Then she decided to lighten the mood with a series of jokes. At first, the humor was inoffensive, gentle jokes about her mother worrying about the seating arrangements and Mark's famous tendency to forget things. The crowd laughed, and so did I, thinking the speech would end on a positive note. But then their attention turned to me. Betty made a comment about how the party wouldn't have been complete without me because, apparently, I had helped finish all the pre-party appetizers. The room erupted in uncomfortable laughter as I forced a strained smile, hoping no one would notice how awkward I felt. My husband's comforting look reassured me a little, but the discomfort persisted. I convinced myself it was just a poorly timed joke, probably fueled by a glass or two of champagne. I told myself to let it go, but the evening didn't give me that opportunity. Later, in a smaller group, Betty decided to press the point. She joked that I was preparing for hibernation, as if my weight gain was some kind of seasonal joke. Her laughter echoed as if she had just told the joke of the century. I told myself that I should ignore it, that it was a one-off, and that everyone would soon forget about it. But the universe had other plans. When I met with the group, someone else, clearly inspired by Betty's previous taunts, made a joke about my stress eating. That's when my patience snapped. I didn't even think about what I was saying. The words just came out. I announced to everyone that I was pregnant. The room went completely silent. For a split second, I thought I had made a serious mistake. But then the silence was broken, and congratulations started to come from all directions. My parents were ecstatic, hugging me and shedding tears of joy. My husband seemed relieved, as if he had been waiting for this moment to happen. Even Mark, Betty's fiancé, came over to shake my hand and express how happy he was for us. Betty, however, was furious. She pulled me aside and accused me of having stolen her moment and ruined her engagement party. I replied that I hadn't planned to announce it, but that her repeated comments had left me with no choice. She stormed off, crying, and the rest of the night was a mixture of people congratulating me while I felt guilty for having upstaged their big moment. The consequences have been terrible. A couple of days later, I sent Betty a long apology message explaining that I hadn't meant to upstage her, but that her jokes had really hurt me. She didn't reply for a while, but when she finally did, her response was scathing. She accused me of being selfish and of having done it on purpose. I tried to reason with her, but she wouldn't listen. She insisted that I could have simply ignored her comments or waited until after the party to announce my pregnancy. Our parents got involved, with Mum trying to mediate. She told Betty that her jokes were not appropriate and that I had every right to defend myself. Betty stood firm, saying that I should have been more mature. Now she barely speaks to me. She has even hinted that I might not be invited to her wedding, which I find extreme and hurtful. What has made the situation even more complicated is how the rest of the family has reacted. Most agree that Betty went too far with her comments, but some have suggested that I could have handled it better. Some think I should have waited to announce my pregnancy until a different time, no matter how provoked I felt. This has made me doubt myself. Was it wrong to speak out? Should I have ignored my feelings and let her have her moment? To complicate matters further, some of Betty's friends have approached me privately. They confessed to me that they consider Betty's behavior at the party to be inappropriate and that she has been unloading on them nonstop ever since. Apparently, she feels insecure because this is her second engagement, and she is worried that people won't be as excited as they were the first time. While I can understand that insecurity, it doesn't justify her treating me like a laughingstock. I don't know what to do now. Part of me wants to approach her again and try to make things right. But another part feels like I've done enough. I've apologized, I've explained my side of the story, and she still acts like I've ruined her life. Am I supposed to keep giving in to make her feel better when she hasn't even acknowledged how much she hurt me? I never wanted to upstage her or steal her moment. All I wanted was to celebrate her engagement and quietly enjoy my little secret. But now I'm stuck wondering, did I handle all of this wrong? Am I really the one to blame here? Update 1. Hi everyone. Thank you for reading my post and taking the time to do so. Honestly, I wasn't expecting so many reactions. I've read your comments and messages, and while some have been comforting, others have really made me reflect on how I handled the situation. It's been a whirlwind of emotions since the engagement party. I think I'll share an update because honestly, this situation has taken on a life of its own. It's been 2 days since the whole incident, and my phone hasn't stopped ringing. Most of the calls and messages have been congratulations on the pregnancy, which is sweet. But there have also been quite a few people looking for juicy details about what happened at the party. I have kept my responses as neutral as possible because I don't want to fuel any more drama than already exists. A simple, thank you, we are very excited, and a quick change of subject have been my usual responses. But, naturally, the people who were present have their opinions and don't hesitate to share them. Some think I didn't need to apologize, and that Betty provoked the situation with her comments. Others believe that I should have chosen a more opportune moment to announce my pregnancy, no matter how provoked I felt. It's like being on trial where half the jury is on my side and the other half thinks I'm the villain. And then there's the group of people who just want to relive every detail of the party, from who said what to who was standing where. At first, I tried to explain my side to anyone who brought it up. I told them that it was never my plan to crash Betty's party, and that I would have kept my pregnancy a secret if she hadn't made all those jokes about me. But after a while I got tired of it. How many people am I supposed to explain myself to? Everyone seems to have an opinion, and the more I try to justify myself, the more I feel like I'm digging a deeper hole. So now I just dismiss it with a vague, "It was an emotional night, and I'm concentrating on moving on." My parents are doing their best to act as mediators, which I understand. They are caught in a difficult situation, 2 daughters at odds, both convinced that they are the injured parties. My mother has been calling me every day to see how I am, and although I appreciate her effort, I can tell she is overwhelmed. She keeps saying things like, "You know how Betty can be," as if that excuses her behavior. My father, on the other hand, remains mostly silent, but I know he is upset with the whole situation. He is the type who hates drama, and this is drama with a capital D. Then there's my husband. He swung between being understanding and funny, which honestly is the only thing keeping me sane at the moment. He finds the whole situation both hilarious and slightly mortifying. On the one hand, he thinks that Betty's behavior at the party was completely inappropriate and that my announcement was justified. On the other hand, he is a little embarrassed that our pregnancy news came out in such a chaotic way. He insists that I stop stressing about it and focus on my health and the baby, and he's right. But that's easier said than done when your phone keeps lighting up with messages like, "Did Betty really say that to you?" And OMG, how are you feeling after all that drama? Speaking of Betty, she's been completely silent. She hasn't called, she hasn't texted, she hasn't even reacted to anything I've posted online. I know she's angry, but it's frustrating because I've already apologized and I don't know what else she wants from me. However, I did hear from one of her friends. Apparently, Betty has been venting about me nonstop and is still upset that I stole her moment. Her friend told me that Betty felt the party should be her big moment and that now the only thing anyone can talk about is my pregnancy. I understand that she is hurt, but it is difficult to feel sympathy when she is not taking any responsibility for her actions. What is really baffling me is how this has spread to our extended family. My aunt called me yesterday to see how I was, but ended up questioning me about the party. She said something like, "You know, honey, timing is everything," as if I didn't already know that. Then my cousin piped up with, "Honestly, I don't blame you. Betty can be so cruel sometimes. It's like everyone is choosing sides, and I'm caught in the middle of a family debate." Even my grandmother, who usually stays out of these things, made a cryptic comment about how siblings should support each other, not tear each other down. Part of me wants to reach out to Betty again, even though she hasn't responded to my last message. I keep wondering if there's some magic combination of words that will make her understand my position. But another part of me is so tired of being the one to extend the olive branch. I've already apologized and explained myself. How much more am I supposed to give in? The irony is that before all this, Betty and I were in a pretty good place. We weren't extremely close, but we weren't in constant conflict either. Now it feels like all that progress has vanished overnight. And for what? A few thoughtless jokes and an impulsive reaction? Anyway, that's how things are at the moment. I'm trying to focus on my health and my baby, but it's hard not to feel overwhelmed by all of this. Maybe Betty and I will find a way to reconcile. Or maybe this will be one of those situations that we will never completely get over. For now, I'm just taking it one day at a time and hoping for the best. Update 2. It's been a few days since my last update, and things have taken some interesting and honestly exhausting turns. I didn't expect to hear from anyone outside my immediate family about what happened, but some of Betty's friends surprised me. Several of her close friends who were at the engagement party really reached out to me, which was unexpected and a little uncomfortable. Liz, one of Betty's best childhood friends, was the first to send me a message. She told me she felt bad about how everything had turned out and wanted to apologize on Betty's behalf. She said Betty had been nonstop venting to her about the party. And although Liz was trying to be a supportive friend, She also told Betty that she might have gone too far with the jokes. According to Liz, Betty didn't take that feedback well. But she admitted that she might have crossed the line. It was strange to hear that. I mean, Betty hasn't said a single word to me directly. But now I'm getting secondhand apologies from her friends. It felt a bit surreal. Liz wasn't the only one. Jennifer, another of Betty's friends who was at the party, sent me a long message apologizing for not intervening when the jokes got out of hand. She said she had felt uncomfortable with Betty's comments, but didn't want to cause a scene at the time. I should have said something, she wrote. It wasn't right for her to keep making fun of you, especially when you weren't laughing. While I appreciate her honesty, it's a little frustrating to hear it now. If she or anyone else had spoken up at the time, maybe things wouldn't have escalated the way they did. On the one hand, I'm relieved that people recognize how wrong Betty was. It feels validating, as if I'm not imagining how hurtful her behavior was. But on the other hand, it's strange to have all these people apologizing on her behalf while she continues to give me the silent treatment. It's like watching a soap opera where everyone talks around the main conflict instead of addressing it head-on. I don't want to be the unfortunate sister that everyone feels sorry for. I just want things to go back to normal, or at least as normal as they can be after all this. From Betty, however, not a word. She hasn't reached out, hasn't sent any texts, hasn't even acknowledged my existence in the family group chat. I keep going back and forth in my head about whether I should make the first move. Should I send another message, call her, show up at her house? Part of me just wants to get this over with, but another part is so tired of always being the first to reach out. I've already apologized. I've already explained my side. What else am I supposed to do? Then there's my mom, who's caught in the middle of all this. She called yesterday to give me the latest update from Camp Betty. When I asked how my sister was, she sighed and said, she's still upset, but it's more about how the party turned out than anything else. That comment baffled me. I asked her what she meant by that. My mother's explanation was that Betty feels that all her big moments have always been overshadowed. Apparently, she has been harboring this insecurity for a long time. Betty told Mom that because I got married 6 months before her engagement, everyone had already celebrated me and they weren't as excited for her this time. And now, with the pregnancy announcement, she feels like she was robbed of the spotlight once again. Hearing this, honestly, made my blood boil. How is this my fault? Am I supposed to feel bad for living my life and having my own important moments? It's not like I planned my wedding or my pregnancy around his engagement. His feelings are starting to seem less like genuine pain and more like a convenient excuse to take it out on me. Even so, I can't ignore the fact that she is clearly dealing with some insecurities. I understand. This is her second engagement, and she is probably worried that people will take it seriously. But that doesn't give her the right to make me the target of her frustrations. I'm tired of being her emotional punching bag. It's like no matter what I do, I can't win. If I stay quiet, I'm not supportive enough. If I defend myself, I'm stealing the spotlight. I'm tired of trying to play this impossible game. Fortunately, my husband is on my side throughout this whole mess. But even with his support, I can't shake the feeling of being stuck. I'm excited about the baby, but it feels like this drama is overshadowing everything. Every time I try to focus on the future, Betty's words come back to me. I wonder if she'll ever come around or if she plans to stay mad at me forever. My mother keeps telling me to give her time, but I'm starting to lose patience. How long am I supposed to wait? And it's not just me she's avoiding. My aunt, who has always been like a second mother to her, tried to reach out yesterday to offer support. Betty rejected her with a curt, "I don't want to talk about it," and she hasn't responded since. It seems like she's closing herself off to everyone, not just me. At this point, I don't even know what she wants. Does she want me to grovel? To keep apologizing until she feels better? I can't keep tiptoeing around waiting for her to decide I'm worthy of forgiveness. After much thought and a few late-night ice cream sessions, I've come to a decision. I'm done waiting for Betty to make the first move. I've already apologized. I've already explained myself. I've done everything I can to fix this. And if she's not ready to move on, that's her business, not mine. I can't keep putting my life on hold for someone who is clearly more interested in holding on to her anger than in making peace. That said, I'm not completely writing her off. She's my sister and I love her, even if she's being difficult at the moment, but I'm not going to keep bending over backwards to fix something she's not willing to meet me halfway on. I have a lot to look forward to, a baby on the way, a supportive husband, and a future full of possibilities. If Betty wants to be part of that, I'd welcome her with open arms, but if she chooses to get stuck in her resentment, I'm not going to let her drag me down. Update 3. Hi everyone. It's been a while, but I'm back with another update. A lot has happened since my last post, and I've finally had some time to process everything. Honestly, this whole situation has been such an emotional roller coaster that I've barely had the energy to sit down and share it all. I know a lot of you have been following, so here's the latest. As I mentioned before, my sister Betty and I hadn't spoken for a while after the whole engagement party incident. Things were tense, and I honestly wasn't in a hurry to break the silence. My mother, however, had other plans. She was determined that we would talk again, probably because she was tired of playing referee between the two of us. Eventually, after much insistence from Mom, Betty and I agreed to meet. We decided to talk at my house as it felt like neutral territory. I thought that if things got intense, at least I would have the comfort of my own home to take refuge in. When Betty arrived, things were awkward from the start. We exchanged polite small talk at first, but it was clear that neither of us really wanted to be there. After some beating around the bush, we finally got down to business. Betty admitted that I might have overreacted at the party, which I appreciated, but she also stood firm in her belief that I shouldn't have announced my pregnancy that day. That brought to the surface all the feelings I had been trying to suppress: frustration, pain, and, if I'm honest, a little guilt. I expressed how I felt. I hadn't planned to make an announcement, but his comments about my weight had left me humiliated and cornered. From there, the conversation got a little heated. We both brought up old grievances, things I didn't even realize we were still holding on to. Betty revealed that she had been feeling insecure since I got married before her. She said it made her feel like she was being left behind, especially because I'm the younger sister. Hearing that honestly took me by surprise. I had never seen our lives as some kind of competition, but apparently she had. It made me realize that a lot of her behavior, her jokes, her comments, even her reaction to my pregnancy, was rooted in these insecurities that I didn't even know she had. It was frustrating, but also a little sad. We talked about the engagement party again, and Betty admitted that she was upset about more than just my pregnancy announcement. She felt that the whole event had been overshadowed, not just by me, but by everything that had happened in the previous months. She mentioned how my wedding, which had taken place almost a year earlier, had already stolen the limelight from her engagement. Hearing her say that made me realize how much resentment I had been holding in. By the end of the conversation, we had come to some realizations. We both recognized where we went wrong, but it was clear that the damage was done. I told her that although I understood her feelings, what she did was not fair to me. Not only did she humiliate me in front of everyone at the party, but she also ruined my plans to surprise our parents with the news of my pregnancy. In the end, I told him I wouldn't be attending his wedding. It wasn't an easy decision, but I felt it was the right one for both of us. The idea of pretending that everything was fine while tensions were still simmering under the surface just didn't sit right with me. I needed to prioritize my own peace, and I knew that being at his wedding would only add to the stress. After that conversation, I felt a strange sense of relief. It wasn't exactly closure, but it was enough to help me move on. I realized that whatever sisterly bond Betty and I once had was gone, and that was okay. I guess sometimes relationships change, and not every bond is meant to last forever. In the weeks that followed, I focused on myself and my pregnancy. My husband has been my rock through all of this, constantly reminding me to take care of myself and not let the drama consume me. We have been spending more time together, planning for the baby, and finding little moments of joy in all this chaos. Meanwhile, Betty has been keeping her distance, which I think is for the best. Although I have heard through the family grapevine that she is still upset, she has also been reflecting on her actions. My aunt tried to reach out to her recently, and Betty told her she didn't want to talk about it. It seems she is retreating into her own space, and although I hope she finds the clarity she needs, I can't spend my energy worrying about her anymore. To everyone who commented on my previous updates, thank you. Your words of encouragement helped me more than I can express. Many of you told me not to feel guilty about standing up for myself, and that advice has stuck with me. It reminded me that I don't have to bear the weight of someone else's insecurities or try to fix things that are not my place to fix. At this point, I'm not sure what the future holds for my relationship with Betty. Maybe time will heal some of these wounds, or maybe we'll continue to grow apart. Either way, I'm okay with that. I have so much to look forward to: becoming a mother, building a life with my husband, and embracing this new chapter. So here's to moving forward. Here's to letting go of guilt and focusing on the things that really matter. And here's to all of you who have been following and offering your support. You've been like a little internet family to me, and I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for reading, for caring, and for helping me see things in a new light. I'm excited about what's to come, and I can't wait to share it with you.